Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network channel on YouTube. I'm your host, Mr. Prime Real Estate, Ric Davis.
And I'm your host, the Texas Real Estate King, LarryWBrooks.
Every week, the King and I will provide you exclusive access to our network of lenders, investors, and real estate professionals from both the commercial and residential real estate sectors.
Now, are you millionaire minded? Or maybe you're a millionaire in the making? Make sure that you subscribe so you can get connected to the network. And always remember, the Prime Real Estate Network.
What's up, Prime Real Estate Network listeners? It's your man, Larry W. Brooks, a.k.a. the Texas Real Estate King. Hey, when you get a moment, go ahead and go over to shoplwb.com. You can see the pure hustle merchandise that we have over there, some of our newer items that we have in stock, and of course, I got all the books that I've authored. I'd love for your support. You have a great day.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Prime Real Estate Network Live. I'm your host, Ric Davis. If you don't follow me on social media, I invite you to do so at Prime Real Estate Ric. If you're looking to buy, sell, or lease residential or commercial real estate anywhere in the great state of Texas, but especially here in our lovely city of Houston, you can reach out to me directly on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Ric. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this week, and we have a really exciting show lined up for you all. I want to give a huge shout out to everybody that's checking us out live on YouTube and Facebook. Let's get involved in today's show. You can leave myself or today's guest a relevant real estate question in the comments section, and you never know, we may very well be able to get your question answered on today's show. I want to give a huge shout out to the Texas Real Estate King that'll be joining us here on the show this week. Hey, man, he has some really exciting news to share with us about what's going on in his world and in the world of Brooks & Davis Real Estate Firm. But I first want to take some time to introduce this week's guest. She is not only a thought provoker, but she's also a real estate mentor, consultant, and one of the finest business owners and entrepreneurs in the real estate space here in the city of Houston. I want to thank her so much for carving some time out of her busy schedule to sit in on the Prime Real Estate Network Live. And I'd like to introduce this week's guest. She's the broker owner of Exclusive Prime Realty. And I'd like to introduce to everyone Miss Britany Freeman. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much, Miss Freeman, for sitting in. Oh, my goodness gracious. Really excited to have you this opportunity to interview you on the show. We were doing some talking before we actually started the show, and we found out that we are actually neighbors in the Cypress area of Houston. So I know all the benefits of Cypress, but as someone like yourself that's a business owner, a mom, a real estate entrepreneur, and also a homeowner, what is it about Cypress and that area of the greater Houston part of Texas that most appealed to you?
Well, I came from the heart of Houston, so I lived by the Galleria before I had my child. As soon as I moved in, I got pregnant. I was in a 4-story. So I was like, this just does not work for me. So I literally had to move to Cypress. I've been here almost a year. That's where my tribe is at. So my mom, my sisters, my business partner, they all help out with my baby. So I had no choice but to move to Cypress. But I like it out here. It's a lot slower, not as much eatery or things to do, but I'm adapting.
You know, I work with quite a few of my buyer clients, and I always talk to them about the value and the great aspects of living in Cypress. And they always ask me, well, Ric, you know, what is it about Cypress that you love so much? I was like, that's where I've decided to put down roots and establish my family. So there's just so many things about as far as convenience, proximity to shopping, education, and all that great.
Education is huge.
All that great stuff. And then, of course, in communities in and around the 290 area in Cypress, there are some great builders. They're building some great products, and there's some really exclusive communities where people of like mind, of like value, can congregate, hang out, get to know each other, and network. So just to some of the things about Cypress that I've always been impressed by, and with somebody in the real estate space like yourself, I'm always curious to what was it about the area that appealed to you. But I want to thank you again for sitting down with us. I know as a business owner and a real estate broker, those Thursdays, especially leading into those busy weekends during these months,
Hmm.
can be kind of hectic. So, for the members of our audience that are being introduced to you for the first time, Ms. Freeman, could you talk a little bit about your brokerage, how long you've been a brokerage owner, and what are some of your passions that led you into the real estate space?
Okay, so Exclusive Prime Realty, or we call it EPR, we've been around for almost 2 years. So I had two babies the same year. In 2023, I had my first son, Carter, um, at July 24th, and then we opened the brokerage in August. So I was a first time mom and a first time broker all within the same year. Was it challenging? Absolutely. But within 2 years, we have almost 40 agents. And fun fact, I've only been an agent, well, I was an agent for now 6 years. But my first year, I didn't sell anything in real estate. So, like I always tell people, if it's somebody that is struggling in the industry, don't give up. It's okay. You may need to get with a better broker or mentor or whatnot, but just keep doing what you're doing. We have almost 40 agents. We want to stay exclusive. We want to stay small. We prefer quality over quantity. We just don't want to have bodies. We want to have actually people that's producing, wanting to learn, wanting to grow, wanting to expand. And I mean, it's been challenging. Is it a lot? Absolutely. But is it very rewarding? It is as well.
I thank you so much for sharing that message because I think it's a message that so many new and aspiring agents need to hear, especially in the current real estate market conditions. So, for you as a leader and for the members of your team, could you kind of illustrate what does success look like for a new agent in 2025 from someone who motivates and inspires on a daily basis?
Success looks like it's honestly whatever you want it to be, right? But it starts with consistency. A lot of people got in real estate back when COVID hit, right?
Right.
2021, 2022, well, 2020 through 2022, it was a lot easier to sell. Now things have changed. It was a seller's market, it's now a buyer's market. Interest rates have gone up and it's not as easy. But if you just stay consistent, you have a good mentor, a good broker behind you, and actually put in the work. A lot of people think, because I guess they're looking on social media, that this is easy.
Right.
It's not as easy as it looks at all. And you have to understand all the different parts of a real estate transaction, from the financing to the title to prospecting to understanding your buyers or sellers, honestly.
No, thank you so much for sharing that message because there are so many content creators, those that are thought provokers, those that host different type of real estate investment shows and podcasts. And and this is just one of my personal opinions that is that I don't think there's enough licensed professionals
Correct.
giving real advice from a experienced position.
Hmm.
That's why I always, with the Prime Real Estate Network Live, me and Larry have always invited other real estate brokers, other
Hmm.
top producers from all over the real estate sphere, Houston, Dallas, out of state, even international, because I've always wanted this platform to be where those licensed professionals, those who have made the commitment to serve the
Hmm.
public,
Hmm.
can actually share the type of advice that's going to help to rise all boats, not kind of allow one segment of the population to have such a high success rate while everybody else stumbles. So I thank you so much for preaching a similar message because people like yourself, people like myself, I think we need to do more as far as sharing what's accurately going on in the local real estate market so that everybody can have the same education and have the same opportunities to make great decisions. What
Absolutely.
are what are some of the things that in the current market conditions you and the members of your team discuss as far as buyers market, sellers market, and what we can do as professionals to connect those who need properties with those that have properties to sell?
So I've been telling my agents that, with this being a different market and really understanding the interest rates, you have to be able to solve your client's problems. So once your name becomes the solution to a problem, you have won that client over. The more you can educate them with a deal, you'll gain their respect, you'll gain their trust as well.
Right. You know, there's so many members of our audience that frequent networking events and they go out a lot, and especially those new agents. One of the things that I talk to them about is just to be visible, go out, meet people. And you've recently transitioned from the Galleria area to more of a suburban setting. But when you were living in the Galleria and in central Houston, how often were you going out to real estate functions? How visible were you in the beginning to set you up to be able to build your platform when you can have so many members of your team that come to you for your experience and your consultation?
I did make myself available, seen, tried to make myself heard. I did sign up. I was part of YPR.
Yes,
I would go to different networking events all the time just to bounce ideas off of people, meet new people, build those relationships, because your relationships is everything in this industry,
absolutely.
honestly. And although Houston is the fourth largest city, it's the industry is very, very small. And I think more people need to realize that.
And that's something that, of course, Larry and myself talk about a lot is how, as much as you would think that there's so much competition in
Hmm.
the city of Houston in the real estate space, the real estate community is really a lot smaller
It is.
than you think. And if you go out, meet, interact, network with like minded professionals, now those names that you may see on the MLS for somebody who's hosting an open house aren't just names and pictures. They're actually people that you've met, interacted with, broken bread with. So, have you found that it's beneficial to have met some of the agents that you've worked with in the past before you've actually done a deal or submitted an offer on a property that they may have been listing? Can you talk about how some of the value that you found as far as that's concerned?
I found it's very, very beneficial, right? So if you go out and you meet somebody and you haven't even worked a deal with them, you start kind of forming that relationship. You don't know what can blossom, what can transform from that. Like I keep telling them, relationships is everything. Whoever has a relationship holds the power, honestly.
You know, and as you built your team up, there are so many aspects to an organization, so many moving parts that people on the outside may not absolutely be able to see just from taking a quick glance. Can you talk about how important it is to be collaborative, to build those viable business partnerships, and to also work with outside entities and third parties to kind of scale your business and put yourself out there bigger, faster, and sooner?
So it's the saying that you at the top. That's where the collaboration comes in. At the competition comes at the lower end of the totem
Right.
pole. I mean, just honestly, you have to be around more like-minded people because iron sharpens iron. You can get a lot further in life with like-minded individuals that's actually trying to work towards their goal.
And now, Ms. Freeman, because I want to make sure that all of the members of our audience have an opportunity to interact, follow, check you out on social media, become a part of the movement and the movement of your organization. So, could you share your social media handles with everyone, website information, and how they could interact with you and your team online?
So our website is exclusiveprimerealty.com. It's currently under construction, but it will be up and running within the next week or two. My personal Instagram page is the Britany Freeman, and the brokerage page is Exclusive Prime Realty.
Absolutely. And one of the true values for myself as a show host is that I've had the opportunity and the luxury of meeting over 300 business owners and entrepreneurs just like yourself. And I've always wanted to ask each of the business owners that I have the honor of interviewing a similar question. And I'll ask you this question as well, Ms. Freeman. So, when you think back to your upbringing as a young lady, were there any members of your family that were business owners, entrepreneurs that you might can think back and credit as being kind of like a inspirational or motivator for you to get into this entrepreneurial space and deal with the challenges that comes with building an organization and being someone who's more forward facing from that standpoint?
So growing up, I did not have anyone that was an entrepreneur in my family. I'm actually the first entrepreneur on both sides of my family that's full
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I have a pharmaceutical medical background. I sold for 8 years. And if you don't know, that's probably one of the hardest industries to break into. So I excelled in the industry. I was like ranked in the nation. So big companies, but I was typically always the only African American in the room. And that would bother me. It's like the higher up you go, the less of us you would see, right?
Right.
So I was like, if I could make these companies all these millions, I know I could bet on myself, put my head down, and make some millions for myself. But I do owe a lot of my success to my father, who was in the picture behind me. He was just a hard worker. He instilled love, the confidence in me, made me resilient. I've had other businesses that failed. I just got back up, kept going, kept pushing. But one thing about me is I don't lay down. It's not a loss, it's a learning lesson, and you just got to keep pushing and do better next time. But I owe it
Thank
all to my
you.
dad.
No, and I'd always had this entire time I've been looking at that picture behind you.
Mhm.
And I thank you so much for sharing a little bit about the gentleman in the picture and how he's been such a great influence on you. And I'm sure he's very proud of not only the young lady, the woman, the mother, but also the entrepreneur and business owner you've become.
Mhm.
For the members of our audience, Ms. Freeman, that would just love to meet, greet, interact with you and your team personally, will there be any opportunities, open houses, networking events where the Prime Real Estate Network audience may be able to come out and just interact with Ms. Britany Freeman?
So we do have open houses every weekend. I'm currently a first time home, so I don't get out as much currently, but in 2026, I definitely will be back out. And either August or September, we will be having a mixer. So we would like to invite out all of the real estate professionals, agents, brokers, title companies, lenders, to come out, have a drink with us, and chat up.
I thank you so much, man. I promise that I would always respect your time because I know how busy Thursdays are, especially in this real estate space. Um, as a business owner, first time mom, are there any quotes or words of inspiration you could leave with any women that's in a similar space that may have recently become a mom and is looking to transition into real estate, or may have been recently licensed before becoming a mom and they're trying to get back out there and get that momentum back going? Is there anything from your experience in the last year or two that you could just share with our audience who may be sitting in the same chair that you were sitting in maybe 18 months ago?
I would just say, just do it. Do the best that you can each day. Motherhood is no joke. I waited till I was 35 to have my first one. So I was just by myself out here for the longest. Having a child definitely changes your life. You have to have a routine. You have to figure it out. It's just one foot in front of each other. And some days motherhood will rock you. Another day you may rock motherhood. You just got to roll with the punches.
I want to thank you so much, Ms. Freeman. I want to thank all the members of your team that made this interview possible. Big huge shout out to Carter. Sound like he got a birthday coming up.
He
So
does. July 24th.
look like got a birthday coming up. So big
Yes.
huge shout out to all your family, everyone that supports you and your organization. I want to thank you so much, Queen, for carving some time out of your schedule. If you ever would like to sit in on the show again, you always have an open seat with us. So thank you so much. And I look forward to interviewing you again in the future.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You have a great one.
Bye
Thanks
bye.
so much. Bye bye. Man, that was a great interview. I would urge everyone to follow Miss Britany Freeman on Instagram. Check out her website. Check out everything that's going on over at her organization. I want to give a huge shout out to the entire team over at Brooks and Davis Real Estate Firm. Everyone that's been working as far as helping me with the open houses I have. So I want to make sure I give a huge shout out to them. If you are in a position where you're looking for a luxury 3-bedroom home rental, follow me on Instagram at Prime Real Estate Rick. There's a really beautiful property that I'm listing in the Town Lake community of Cypress. Really great home, great community, great school district, great for your family and friends. So I want to give a huge shout out to the Texas Real Estate King, Mr. Larry W. Brooks. He'll be back with us next week for our next show. Huge shout out to our super producer, Jay Joseph, that makes us look great every week here on the Prime Real Estate Network Live. And I want to thank everyone who tuned into this week's show that's watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever you may be checking out this podcast. Until next Thursday in the noon hour, when it's time for the Prime Real Estate Network Live, I hope everyone in our audience can please be safe and be blessed.